Sparking Zero is so garbage. It'll never be successful or get any awards.
Thank you very much. The Dragon Ball Sparking Zero team and myself, Jun Furutani, are grateful for your support. This game has been very successful, selling over 5.5 million copies and maintaining over 1 million players every single month. We thank you for your support.
But Twitter told me that Sparking Zero was ass!
And finally, to all the haters out there that say that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is some hot ass, fuck you guys. We're rich.
Ladies and gentlemen, we actually have some pretty big Sparking Zero news. Now keep in mind, this isn't related to any content or anything like that. This is more of just something completely separate that was announced the other day, and I really wanted to go over it just because it's interesting to me. I think it's cool, and you know, a big shout outs to the game. I mean, the game, despite what people are saying, right? What Twitter has convinced the entire world that this game was garbage, it was a flop, it was unsuccessful. I mean, the facts are here, right? It's won a grand award. It's got allegedly over 1 million players playing monthly, right? Which we'll go over. This is all official info that's coming straight from, you know, the dev team, right? And the people who worked on the game and, like, you know, are producing the game and stuff, right? It's pretty crazy. And it's been a while since we kind of got an update on, like, what's been going on with the community for the game and just, you know, how it's been doing and performing in terms of, you know, sales and everything. And so far, as far as I know, I think it's still at 5.5 million. I mean, I'm sure it's more than that by now, but they haven't come out with an official statement saying, like, oh, this is how many copies have been sold for the game and all that stuff. I believe the Switch version and Switch 2 version sold like maybe around like 50K or something like that, like total. Maybe not that much, I mean, just like a kind of like a ballpark number. I don't know the exact amount, but obviously it's not enough to say that it's already over 6 million, right? But let's talk about this information and stuff. As you guys should be aware, and, you know, I'm always going to remind you guys every time I do a video like this, we are confirmed to be getting DLC in 2026 and, you know, potentially other updates. Don't know exactly what they have planned, but you guys know this entire year they focus mainly on characters and gameplay patches, and that has been it, right? You know, that could change in 2026, or it could be the same. You know, we'll judge it when it happens, right? The first bit of info that we will be getting is going to be in January, which is going to be at the same time as the Genki Dai Matsuri event, or whatever it's called, that big event. They're going to have huge reveals. There's going to be a new video game for just Dragon Ball revealed. We have 2 projects. Could be anime related, could be a movie. Don't exactly know yet, but you know, we're 1 month away from big shit, right? Huge, major stuff. So this information that I'm gonna be going over comes from the PlayStation official Japanese account for the partner awards, right? I don't really follow partner awards for PlayStation, but, you know, this was put out and Sparking Zero was on the list for the grand award alongside stuff like Zenless Zero, Marvel Rivals, Monster Hunter Wilds, or whatever the fuck it's called. Honestly, that's pretty impressive to see an anime arena fighting game hanging with some of these, like, really popular, successful games and stuff. Now, the grand award, as far as I know and from what I researched, I think it's just how many sales the game has. So it's just, you know, reiterating that the game sold very, very well. I don't think it's a system based on how good the game is or anything like that. But obviously, you know, a lot of people picked up the game because it looked interesting, right? You're not going to buy the game if it doesn't look like a fun game to play, right? So yeah, over 5.5 million copies as far as we know. You know, honestly, you know, congrats, right? I'm not here to glaze the game or anything. I'm just putting out the facts and just saying, like, hey, that's pretty impressive. Like, that's very good. Like, I don't recall Xenoverse or even maybe Fighters winning an award like this. Maybe Fighters could have won it in the past, but Xenoverse, I definitely don't think I saw that, because I want you to keep in mind, it took, I believe, 4 years for both Xenoverse and Fighters after their release to actually reach 6 million copies, or like 7 million copies, right? Sold within, you know, that time frame. Sparking Zero is almost there, and it's only been a little over a year, right? So let's go over this right here. It just says the PlayStation Partner Awards 2025 Japan/Asia, blah, blah, blah. They have a link where it goes over information. There's interviews from the devs of each of the game and producers and stuff. So we're going to be going over that. Fuck off, Grok. Shout out to Vinixis because he does confirmed, or they do confirm that over 1 million people are playing Sparking Zero every month since its release. Now, I could have sworn that Twitter swears, right, that the game is dead and it flopped, right? And again, I'm not, people will be like, oh, this guy's glazing it. It's like, brother, these are facts right here. These are stats that are put out by the official people, right? This is from an interview, which we're going to be going over here. It's directly from Fudotani. This is the first statement that he puts out after he gets the award. He says, thank you very much for this prestigious award. This award is thanks to the customers who love the series and this title. They built up excitement even before the release, and now after release, over 1 million people are playing every month. We are supported by so many people. I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude. As Fudotani just mentioned, we are supported by many fans. We intend to continue working hard to meet everyone's expectations, which is good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear that they are still listening, which they have listened to a lot of feedback, but it's mainly just been related to gameplay patches and stuff, right? So, is this true, right? There are people who still don't believe this, right? Even if it's coming directly from the mouth of the producer of the game, right? Obviously, if you're the producer, you're overseeing and you're trying to, monitor the stats of this game because you want to make sure that the game is performing well and it has people who are actually playing it. If it doesn't, and you don't have any good data on that, and people are, player base is declining, people are not interested in the game anymore, why the fuck would you even invest in making more content? Which we are confirmed to be getting more content. That's the reason why the game has been so successful, not just from sales, but actual active players, right? Months and over a year after the game released. So obviously there's something still there that people are interested in, right? And just because you don't play the game or I don't play the game doesn't mean that everybody stopped playing, right? There are still a lot of people who enjoy the game and play it every single day. And I want to clarify that whenever they say over 1 million people, this is not just this is across all consoles. Okay, this game is on PS5, it's on Switch and Switch 2 now, Xbox and PC/Steam. Now, I would have to say PC, Steam, and maybe even Xbox probably have the least amount of players. I think a majority right now are probably on Switch and likely, obviously, PS5. The number one highest player base, I'm talking like a huge ratio, right, is going to be on PlayStation 5. Like, you're probably getting, if I would have to say just like an estimate, and obviously I'm just spitballing ballpark number, right? We're probably seeing maybe 800K, maybe even more than that, right? A little, maybe 900K who are on PS5 exclusively, and then the other players are probably PlayStation, more 100% guaranteed, more players combined of all the other consoles, right? The other consoles ain't shit compared to what people are doing on PS5. And I've gone on PS5 and I've played on PS5 and I get matches pretty quickly. From the few times that I've played, it does happen. The problem is I do play usually in the morning when I'm recording a video, so it's a little less active just because obviously in my time zone, everybody's usually asleep, right? So I have to, depend on getting people from, other countries or whatever, and even that doesn't work because the connection won't be as good, right? But yeah, I'm just saying, if I play later in the day, I get matches pretty quickly compared to games like Xenoverse or even, Fighters from what I've played more recently, right? It's just it's definitely, you can tell that there are people who are still playing the game, actively. And I also want to clarify that the over 1 million, I do not think that means that there's over 1 million people always playing the game at the same time. I think they mean there are over 1 million people who at least played the game within that month. You know what I'm saying? Within that monthly time frame, for example, if I didn't play the month before, but I played the month after, right? At least one time, they're counting that as somebody who actively turned on the game, right? Entered the game and did something, even if it was for 2 seconds. You know what I mean? That's what they're counting. So Again, that's still very good. Over 1 million people. Like that's a very small percentage of the people that actually bought the game. You know what I'm saying? So obviously a majority of people who purchased the game aren't playing the game anymore, but that's still very, very good compared to a lot of anime games out there, right? And I will have to say that what is really hurting the game over anything right now, right? Because like gameplay patches have been pretty decent for the most part, and obviously, you know, we know we want content and everything, but crossplay, the lack of crossplay, like we live in the year 2025, it's almost 2026, and these anime fighting games and a lot of these anime games do not have crossplay. Like, why? Why would you do that, right? How does Dragon Ball The Breakers and Gekishin Squadra, games that are not as popular, right, have crossplay, and the most successful Dragon Ball game within, you know, 1 year doesn't have it, right? Not even Xenoverse, not even Fighters. Like, a lot of these games do not have crossplay, right? So it's like, what's going on? Actually, wait, does Fighters have crossplay? I can't even remember. Yeah, y'all let me know. I completely forgot. I know they got rollback netcode. It's always rollback and crossplay that, like, I'm always, like, back and forth with. Like, yeah, I know that. And then even the rollback was, like, not very good. But whatever, I digress. But, yeah, Gekishin Squadra right now, you know, they've been maintaining around, like, 2,000 players, right, for the 24-hour peak, which it has dropped significantly since, you know, the game released. I think they're... I mean, I could have told you that this was going to happen. Like, I think I did in a couple of videos. Like, I was like, you know, people are going to gas up the game and then say it's, like, you know, really awesome and stuff. And I personally kind of, you know, fell off this game. I do not play it as much as I did, like, the first week. But that's just because I just never was really super interested in this genre. I don't really like MOBAs. The only thing that's carrying this game for me is the fact that it has really cool animations and very nice models, and that's really it. The gameplay itself gets monotonous. It gets very boring after a while, and that's just, again, that's just me, but I think the game's cool, and for the people that still, you know, play it every single day, obviously are having a good time, but at the same time, they've made certain changes to the game, and things like with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and I think Ultimate Gohan, a lot of people I've been seeing are criticizing the game right now, that it's going in a bad direction. Those characters are way too overpowered, and the balance of the game is just not good, right? Again, could have told you that this was going to happen, right? And unless there are changes being made and things being made to it, the player base will likely decline over time, but we'll see, right? Toshi, he's just, I don't know, every time he goes to a different game, one of these games or whatever, there's always an issue, right? Another really successful, I would say this is the most successful anime game out there when it comes to active players, you know, simultaneously, right? 5,000 players right now. This is right now at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, right? People who are at work, school, there are still over 5,000 people playing the game right now, okay? And this is on Steam, right? This is just giving you a small percentage of how many people still play the game, right? I'm just only using it for that aspect and not for, you know, the entire player base, because guess what? This is on other consoles too, so I'm sure there are way more on PlayStation 5, right? But this is pretty good. You know, 5,000 people that are just playing the game right now is great. And that's crazy. That's the 24-hour peak, right? 5,090 players literally is the peak right now of how many people are actually playing. So that's pretty impressive, right? And what do these two games have in common, okay? Crossplay. Give Sparking Zero crossplay, and I guarantee you more people will be jumping on this game, especially for the people on Steam, because if I look up Sparking Zero on Steam, right, it probably only has like 300 players. Like, let's see. Okay, yeah, almost 600 players, which isn't horrible. The 24-hour peak is 800, right? It's not awful, but the fact that Steam has such a low amount of players compared to PlayStation 5, right, for example, which probably has like hundreds of thousands of players right now, right? Like, okay, maybe not right now, but you know what I mean. Like, it's got way more players than that. Like, it definitely has, like, in the 5 digits at least right now. So it's just interesting to me that they wouldn't do crossplay, because it would really help for people who are, you know, only have the game on Steam that would want to, you know, find matches in general. You know what I mean? Like, I know for a fact it's hard to find matches on Steam, because, I mean, look at how many people are on here, right? Like, there's not that much compared to the other consoles, right? But yeah, that's the situation with that. That's just my, what I think. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks this. I guarantee you, everyone and their mom who appreciates the game and still likes the game wants crossplay, right? So, yeah, let's talk about all the other information in this interview. You don't have to watch this part. This is just interesting stuff to me. They're just going over why, or like what was the process of this game? How did they find success with it, et cetera, et cetera. There's Jun Furutani. Oh my God. First, please give us a word regarding the winning the grand reward, blah, blah, blah. So we already went over this. It's just going over the 1 million players thing. So these are just interview questions, okay? It has been 17 years since the last entry. Could you tell us about the development history? Was the voice of the fans a major factor? Furutani says, yes, the push from the fans' voices was very significant. As a company, we believe that the Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero series Sparking series had reached its completed form with the previous title, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Meteor, aka Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Now, there are going to be people who say that was its peak, right? The Sparking series, the Tenkaichi series peaked at Tenkaichi 3, and Sparking Zero was just a downgrade, right? There are people who will, say that. And that's their opinion, it's whatever, right? However, various other Dragon Ball titles appeared after that, and recently there have been various changes, such as the evolution of platforms and improvements in the game development technology. Therefore, the background of this development was the idea that now is the time we could deliver a new kind of excitement to our customers. And honestly, I would have to say they cooked pretty well with, what they did. I'm not excusing them for the things that they didn't add, they were missing, and, how the game did feel like it wasn't complete, because Budokai Tenkaichi 3, it set the bar so fucking high. Like that's still hailed as top 5, maybe even the best Dragon Ball game ever created, right? And I mean, not just Tenkaichi, but just like the Tenkaichi series, at least 2 and 3 are favored by a lot of people, right? So the fact that this had the bar so high, they had a lot of stuff that they had to do and live up to, right, for this game. Since its release in October of 2024, it has maintained strong performance for a long time. How do you analyze this high level of popularity? What do you think is captivating players so much? As a major premise, the work, Dragon Ball itself continues to be extremely charming, which is facts, right? The fact that we have about 5 million fucking games that are getting supported, like, today, at the same time, and this is all from Bandai and, all these other game developers, like, it's crazy. What anime series out there has this many games, right? Other than maybe like what is that? What is that fucking genre? Gundam, right? I don't know how many games Gundam has right now. I think they have a lot, but I don't know. Do they have as many or maybe even more than Dragon Ball? I don't know about that. We established the concept of, hold on. And the fact that the fans engage with the work with such love is a contributing factor. For this title, we established the concept of becoming a super warrior rather than a highly competitive, severe fighting game. This is what I've been saying for a long time. I understand that they did add a ranked mode and, they have online and everything, but that's just because a lot of these anime arena fighters will always have that, right? They have to put that in there for, people that want to make it a competitive game. Because you can make it a competitive game, but that was never their number one priority and intention, right? They wanted to just make a Tenkaichi game, right? Tons of characters with the same similar mechanics as the original games, right? We didn't have online. There was no ranked mode back then. People could make it into a competitive game and found all this crazy tech and shit. But what have I been saying for a long time since this game came out? It was never their intention. You're seeing it right here, right? Rather than a highly competitive, severe fighting game, we just wanted the concept of you having the anime experience in a video game. Like, I cannot be the only one that, saw this, that at least observed this and knew, okay, that's what their intention was. We did our best to create a system where you can pleasantly experience the battles of super warriors, aiming for a work that allows for Dragon Ball make-believe play. Exactly, like recreating moments, feeling like you're in the anime, right? I think the fact that we were able to deliver Dragon Ball-like action that satisfies Dragon Ball fans is what has led to it being loved to this day. Now, that can be opinionated. There are going to be people who say, like, oh, this game, the gameplay mechanics suck or whatever, or like the fighting is garbage. Oh, they need to keep changing the gameplay. Well, if you still have 1 million people who are hopping on the game for God knows what reason, right? There's something there that people like. Like, and again, this isn't me glazing. I've said this before. Going from Xenoverse 2 to Sparking Zero is such a massive improvement, and going back to Xenoverse 2 after playing Sparking Zero, it's just not the same, right? I feel like I have so much freedom, and I can do so many things in Sparking Zero, and it just feels amazing. Like, when you go back to Xenoverse 2, combat on that is okay. It's still fine. Like, I don't really have a problem with it, right? But it feels stiff. It feels stiff as fuck. So it's like, if I want a definitive Dragon Ball experience, like anime experience for a fighting game, I'm playing Sparking Zero, dog. Okay? I'm always going to go back to Xenoverse 2 because I love all the content and the customization and my CAC. I love that shit, right? But like Sparking Zero, man, this shit fun, man. It's fun as fuck when you're playing with friends. You capture the hearts of gamers and Dragon Ball fans worldwide from a developer's perspective. Why do you feel that is? We researched how the Dragon Ball Z Sparking series was played by listening to various people and watching them play. Through that, I believe we reached a level where we understood how to enjoy Dragon Ball-like battles. For example, Vegeta has the famous technique called Gallic Gun. Since this is a long-range attack in a normal fighting game, you would just dodge it, get behind the opponent, and attack. However, players don't do that. Instead, they enjoy the style of Dragon Ball within the game, thinking, if a Gallic Gun is fired, I should return with the Kamehameha, a Beam Clash, right? Which, is a huge, big thing for the game, right? For the Tenkaichi series. Yeah, Beam Clash that shit. Like, that's what I would do. Like, I've said this before. If you're playing with friends and everything, especially with friends, right? Online, maybe it's not the same. People are there to win online, so I get you're not going to want... If somebody fires off a Kamehameha, right? Like, you're going to just dodge it and then try to kill them as soon as possible, right? If you're playing online. But if you're playing with your homies, which was kind of like, what we did back in the day, and this is kind of their intention, you're going to Beam Clash your buddy, right? You know what's good. Like, the assignment. And some of these people, who are playing online and stuff, they do know the assignment, but they don't give a fuck. They just want to win, right? So that's why the competitive and the online aspect of this entire game is what really killed it for me, right? And probably a lot of people, which that's what it is, right? It is bound to happen. And obviously, they couldn't make this game without including online. That's just not what was, going to happen, right? It's a fighting game, arena fighting game in this modern day and age. They had to do it, right? Or people were going to bitch and complain, right? So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. With this title as well, the underlying idea was to evolve from the previous game as a battle game where you can pursue that kind of Dragon Ball likeness. Therefore, we proceeded with the development keeping in mind not to change the basic battle system from the previous games, but to add new Dragon Ball-like actions and achieve a legitimate evolution. I feel that these points have been very well received. Yeah, I would have to agree, right? The foundation of the game is Tenkaichi. It feels like Tenkaichi. Yes, they changed up some things and they added new things in there, okay? When I say changed up, I just mean like very like minor things. It's not like a completely different game. Like the transition from playing Tenkaichi on PS2, jumping to Sparking Zero is a pretty smooth transition for the most part, right? Like I could go from, this is just my opinion. Maybe you guys can disagree with me, but that's just how I feel when I pick up the, Sparking Zero. And like, even an example, my brother, he has not played a Dragon Ball game in a very long time. And last year, whenever I told him, hey, like, this new Tenkaichi game, right? This is what we used to play. Like when we were kids, we played the fuck out of Tenkaichi 2 and 3, right? So when we transitioned to this game, and he hadn't played any of these games in like decades, right? And he picked this one up. He was like, oh, hey, this is the same game. Okay, but I was like, okay, well, I got to teach you about some of the other new mechanics, right? Like there's, the like perception and shit, and like the super counter and all this stuff. Like there's some like different things on here, right? That you're gonna have to learn. Furutani mentioned the story of returning a Gallic Gun with Kamehameha, and in marketing as well, we shared the direction we should aim for using the term pro wrestling as a keyword, including those aspects. I feel the result is that it was accepted primarily by the fans, right? This title has received high praise worldwide. How did you balance the fun of it being a Dragon Ball festival game? They're saying it right there, dude. Festival game. It's a celebration. It's a fun party game. What have I been saying? And people will swear and say, this game is supposed to be a competitive fighting game, right? Again, you can make it competitive. You can make Mario Party competitive. You can make Smash Bros competitive. But what was Smash Bros in the beginning? That was meant to be a partying game by Sakurai, and then people, took it up to the next level, found all this tech and everything. Like, you can turn almost every single party fun game into a competition. As soon as there's multiplayer and the goal is to win, that's competition, right? But you can still have fun with it, right? Like, look at a board game. What is your goal? To win. Can you make it competitive? I guess, right? Are there strategies in certain board games? Yeah, but it was meant to just be a fun game that you play with your friends or family. Please tell us about the difficulties and balance adjustment or points you were particular about. As I mentioned earlier, we kept in mind the pursuit of the Dragon Ball-like battles for this title. Therefore, characters who were very strong in the original work are designed to provide an experience befitting that strength in the game. Conversely, characters who were forced into difficult fights, Cyberman, there's a fucking, Krillin and all that shit, Master Roshi, Tien, Yamcha, are expressed with similar combat power in the game, creating a clear distinction in character strength. If those two types of characters were to fight, naturally you would feel a large gap, huge discrepancy, and it wouldn't stand up as a competitive game. Yes, exactly. So we introduced the team system and the cost system to balance the things as a whole, DP battles, etc., and that's why they had so many patches throughout this entire year and eventually created a system where the discrepancy wouldn't be as huge, right? So that there could be at least some, way that you could win as long as you had enough skill. You could use maybe, for example, like Krillin against, I don't know, like Jiren or something like that. And it's not impossible, but it would still be very difficult to win with that character. But if you were good enough and the other person was kind of just like a casual and didn't know what the fuck they were doing, they could lose, right? And again, that's just what they tried to aim for after hearing a lot of feedback, because people wanted that a lot. After the game finally released and they saw, oh wait, it's online and it has that huge discrepancy, it's lore accurate, and there's an online system, well, guess what we're going to be seeing? UI Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Vegeta Blue, Gogeta Blue, right? That's all you're going to be seeing. As far as I can tell from some of the matches that I've played online after that big patch that they did to kind of balance that out a bit, I've been seeing more just like normal characters. I've fought Krillins and Piccolos, and I've gotten my ass beat. That's because I suck shit at the game, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm using like UI Goku or whatever, it's still kind of difficult as long as, the person is actually, good at the game. The participation of over 180 characters has been announced for this title. What development approach did you take to achieve both the reproduction of the individuality possessed by this many characters and the balance adjustments as a fighting game? We place importance on clearly designing strong characters so that their performance actually feels strong. Within that, by firmly applying corrections to attack power and defense power based on the difference in cost numbers, we balance the game as a whole, okay? Again, with how they change things up, later on, right? As it is a completely new title after 17 years, one can imagine there was a reasonable turnover in development staff. I feel a burp coming up, so I apologize. I'm trying to push that shit down while I'm reading this off. Was there anything you consciously passed down to ensure the series remained loved? We place importance on clarifying the points that must be inherited and the things that must remain as a series. Therefore, we heavily researched how past titles were played and developed this by adding plus elements without changing the basic battle system. In particular, regarding the field of operation controls, we developed it quite carefully. If people who played 17 years ago touched this title and felt this isn't the Dragon Ball Z Sparking series I used to play, it would defeat the purpose. That's exactly what we've been talking about, right? Example was my brother. So we placed great importance on the control feel of that time. For that reason, we prepared systems like Classic Control, right? Which allows you to play with almost the same button layout as back then and made it so combos can be connected with similar operations. We worked to express what we consider a legitimate evolution in a form that fans of the series can play smoothly. I agree with them, man. Like, that's one thing that, I appreciate. They didn't just, and again, I say I appreciate, and people will be like, oh, that's the bare minimum. That's what they should do and stuff. It's like, they could have easily just gave you a new control system and said, fuck you guys, like, whatever, again, I'm not saying that, like, this is some high praise, like, oh, they're fucking goats for giving us classic controls and shit. No, that's not all I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, it's good that they were thinking of the fans, right? They were listening to the feedback. Oh, okay. Well, if I'm playing this game and I love the original, I want some, I want the original controls, right? I want to be able to do the same thing. And they even had the option that you could do the break your fucking control stick, right? Or you could do, like the buttons instead for beam clashing in case you didn't want to fuck up your controller. But some people like the shit, right? I think this is an IP where the known characters differ greatly depending on the generation, right? Please tell us if there were any ingenuities or struggles regarding targeting and approaching this game as a whole, okay? So talking about how, like, there are fans who are fans of this game and just Dragon Ball in general who are like 30, 40, 50 years old maybe by now, right? And then there are fans who are also like 8, 13, 14, 15 years old. Like, we have very new young faces in the Dragon Ball community because they, picked up Super, right? Or they watched Dragon Ball Super, or they got into the series from Dragon Ball Diamond. Like my little cousin, for example, he's not huge into Dragon Ball, right? He probably likes it because I love it and I talk about it so much and stuff. But he's shown an interest in it, and it's really cool talking with him. He's like 9 or 10 years old, and he's actually interested in it. And he always tells me like Dragon Ball Legends, like he's very interested in that game. And he's always telling me like, oh, use the character with the really big spiky hair that's like a purplish, like grayish color or whatever. And I was like, oh, you mean Beast Gohan? He thinks Beast Gohan is the coolest shit ever. He absolutely loves it. Every time he'll draw like characters for me, and he'll draw Beast Gohan, and like, it's not like the best drawing ever or anything, but for like a little kid, I can tell like, oh, that's Beast Gone. That's so cool. Like, it's cute. And I like seeing him have an interest in something, that I grew up with too. You know what I mean? We recognize that a very wide age range of people are playing this title. Everyone likely encountered Dragon Ball at different times. But in response to that, what we wanted to develop as a consistent thread was that this is a place where Dragon Ball love can be reproduced and realized. And we produced it while carefully preserving the points that series holds dear. Also, considering it is a series title, we wanted to give customers that understanding. When we first publicly revealed this project, we created a promotional video that started with footage from the previous game. Hey, yeah, that's the legendary Battle Hour footage where I shit my ass, bro. By doing so, we awakened memories of that time and conveyed the message that they could experience it once again, along with new elements in this title. There are many people who touched a Dragon Ball game or Sparking series game for the first time with this title. That is thanks to the fans conveying the charm of the series and this title with such enthusiasm. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone once again. Thank you very much. Fudutani said, since we have a situation where there are many new customers, we enriched the assist functions so that even lower elementary school students can perform a variety of Dragon Ball-like actions just by mashing buttons, right? And yeah, understandable why they did that. I personally, and, a lot of people turn that shit off day one, right? Because, we didn't want to have to mess with, because the assist function, it's if you just don't know what the fuck you're doing, like, at all. And you're just going to be like a little kid who's mashing, which that's what it is. And, you don't know anything about the mechanics, or you don't want to take the time to learn mechanics. That's what you would do. So, understandable. That's why they have it. It's an option. It's not, something that they're forcing upon anyone, right? You go in the settings and you can change it. We're taking an approach that allows a wide range of people to play, so we would be happy if anyone who likes Dragon Ball would pick it up, right? And like, there are gonna be people who are like, oh, well, fuck those kids, they're garbage, and who cares about them? This game was for the fans, right? We the OG people who've been playing this game for 17 years or whatever. This game should be for us, right? And they shouldn't be thinking about these other people. It's like, come on, be realistic, bro. Like, be so for real. If you're trying to, sell this game and you want it to be, fuck off, Grok. You want it to be as accessible as possible to, as many people as possible, you got to have stuff like this in the game, right? And you have to make it, easier for new players to pick it up. And eventually, after they play the game, understand the mechanics and learn the mechanics, they can turn that shit off, right? Like, they did good, man. They did good for the most part. Again, this wasn't a video to glaze or to hate on the game, right? There are criticisms and things that I have said for fucking over a year. How many videos I've made, right? For those of you that actually watch my content, the things that I've said about the game and the feedback that I've been giving to Bandai directly and trying to get this fixed, because a lot of people are doing the same, right? We're all doing our part to make this game better. I love the game. I think it's great. I think it can be way better, right? You're never going to get a perfect product, but we can strive to make this game as best as we can by giving our feedback. And that's all we can do, right? We're not devs. We're not publishers. Like, all we can do is say, hey, this is fucked up, or this needs to get fixed, or you need to add this, you know, to make it better, right? Crossplay, number one. That should be like number one priority. You know, if you're trying to do something, like do the crossplay, and then we can talk about, you know, more content and everything, which obviously everybody wants. Yes, I know. But I'm just saying, like, you know, it is what it is, right? It is what it is at this moment in time. I'm just going to, you know, always hope that the game is going to be good throughout next year and beyond, depending on how much they want to, you know, fix it or do things or support it. And if you don't like the game anymore, or you fell off on the game and you just don't care and you've moved on, that's okay, man. That's okay. Like, I don't play this game every single day. There are other things that I want to do. Maybe I want to play other games. Maybe I just don't even want to play games. I want to go do shit in my real life. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. You don't have to play this game or be a sweat or anything. You don't have to do this every single day, right? It's okay. People are like acting like, oh, if you're not playing this game every single fucking day, you're not a real fan, or, you know, that just goes to show that the game is trash or whatever. And it's like, nah, bro. Like, when I beat Breath of the Wild and I beat Donkey Kong and I beat Tears of the Kingdom or Pokemon or whatever, when I beat the game, I move the fuck on to either another game or to anything better, right? I don't want to play the same thing over and over and over. Some people like that. And again, that's fine too. Do you. You do you.